Have you ever woken up from a nightmare, heart racing, breath shallow, drenched in sweat, and wondered, why does this keep happening to me? You're not alone. And believe it or not, those disturbing dreams might be more than just a sign of stress or fear. They might actually be trying to help you. Nightmares can feel frightening, even exhausting. But what if I told you that, for many older adults, especially those navigating life on their own, bad dreams may serve a deeper purpose? That beneath the fear and confusion, they might hold the key to healing, self-awareness, and even emotional growth? In this video, we'll explore why nightmares happen, what they really mean, and how understanding them could transform not just how you sleep, but how you live. We'll look at how these dreams may reflect the emotional terrain of aging, loss, change, uncertainty, and how they can sometimes offer a strange kind of guidance. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night, haunted by dreams that seem cruel or confusing, stay with me. You might just discover that your subconscious has been trying to tell you something important all along. Let's begin by looking at what nightmares really are, and why they might not be as bad as we think. Nightmares, by definition, are vivid, disturbing dreams that often wake us up. They usually involve danger, fear, helplessness, or loss. And while most people associate them with trauma or anxiety, emerging science suggests something more layered. Some experts believe that nightmares are the brain's way of processing difficult emotions that we don't fully deal with during the day. Others see them as a simulation, like an emotional rehearsal for handling real-life problems. But one thing is clear: the older we get, the more our dreams seem to reflect the inner journey we're walking. And sometimes that journey includes getting lost. Many older adults report recurring dreams that follow a pattern: being lost, being late, trying to get somewhere but never arriving. These dreams may feel frustrating, even frightening, but they often mirror real struggles: the fear of losing control, the challenge of navigating big life transitions, or the quiet sadness of feeling disconnected from a former identity. Take the example of an older woman in her early 70s. She often dreams she's walking through a busy airport, searching for a gate that seems to keep changing. No matter how fast she walks, she never quite reaches it. She's not afraid in the dream, just deeply unsettled. When she reflected on it with a sleep therapist, she realized this dream mirrored her real-life struggle with redefining her sense of purpose after retirement. She'd been trying to arrive at something new, but wasn't sure what it was. This is where nightmares, as uncomfortable as they are, might actually be serving a role. They reflect the tension between where we are and where we long to be. They show us where we're stuck, or where we're avoiding something painful. For many older adults, especially those living alone, these dreams become more than just nighttime stories. They become emotional messages from the quietest parts of the self. They might say, "You're grieving and haven't named it," or "You feel left behind," or even, "You're scared of what's next and that's okay." Another common dream theme in older age is exclusion. Standing at the edge of a celebration but not being invited in. Watching others enjoy something you can't quite reach. It may be subtle, but emotionally it hits hard. For instance, a widow in her mid-60s described recurring dreams of watching a dinner party from outside a window. She could see the candlelight, hear the laughter, but she never walked in. This dream recurred for months after her husband passed. She realized later it wasn't just about loneliness. It was about feeling like life was still happening for others, but no longer for her. It was about the invisible barrier between her past and her uncertain future. These types of dreams can point to something very real: the way grief can isolate us not just from others but from our own ability to feel joy again. And by showing us that distance, the dream is actually doing a strange kind of service. It's pointing out the emotional bridge that still needs to be built. Now, of course, not all nightmares have this kind of insight built in. Some are raw expressions of unresolved trauma. Others come from anxiety, medical conditions, or even medications. But if you find yourself having the same kinds of distressing dreams repeatedly, it might be worth asking, is there something in my waking life that feels unfinished? Is my mind trying to resolve something I haven't quite looked at directly? Here's what's interesting. Even when a dream feels irrational, the emotional logic behind it is often very precise. One woman shared a recurring dream about her childhood home flooding. She'd wake up shaking, heart pounding. But through journaling, she made a connection. She'd recently moved out of her family house after 40 years. That dream wasn't about water. It was about loss, letting go, and the fear that her past was being washed away. In many cases, the nightmare isn't random, it's symbolic. And when we learn to see the symbols, the dream starts making emotional sense. That's why understanding your dreams matters. Not to decode them like puzzles, but to use them as mirrors. To ask, what part of me is struggling? What am I afraid of? What am I trying to protect? Of course, chronic nightmares should never be ignored, especially if they're disrupting your sleep regularly, affecting your mood, or worsening feelings of fear or depression. In some cases, they may signal PTSD, unresolved trauma, or even neurological changes related to aging. If your nightmares are frequent and severe, speak with a healthcare provider. They may recommend tools like imagery rehearsal therapy, mindfulness techniques, or medications that improve sleep quality. But if your nightmares are occasional and seem to follow a theme, they might be part of a deeper emotional process, one that can be understood, not feared. So what can you do about them? We'll explore that in just a moment, but first I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a dream that stuck with you for days? Something that felt like more than just imagination? If you're comfortable sharing, let's talk about it in the comments. You never know who might feel seen because of your story. Now let's continue, because understanding your nightmares is only the first step. The next part is learning how to respond to them, gently, wisely, and without fear. So now that we've looked at why nightmares happen and what they might be telling us, let's talk about how we can work with them, rather than fear them. Because the truth is, you don't have to feel powerless against your dreams. There are simple, compassionate steps you can take that might not only reduce the intensity of bad dreams, but also help you understand what they're trying to show you. Let's start with something very basic: sleep hygiene. A surprising number of nightmares are linked to poor quality sleep. Things like inconsistent sleep times, caffeine or alcohol in the evening, or watching upsetting news right before bed can all heighten the likelihood of vivid or disturbing dreams. If you're someone who often has nightmares, take a closer look at your bedtime habits. Are you falling asleep with the TV on? Do you scroll through your phone in the dark? Are you going to bed anxious or overstimulated? One older woman I spoke with used to have regular nightmares about being trapped or chased. She thought they were caused by her past trauma. But after working with a sleep therapist, she realized she had a habit of watching crime dramas every night just before bed. Once she switched to calming music and dim lighting instead, the dreams began to soften. The content changed. It didn't erase her fears, but it changed how her mind processed them. This leads us to a powerful truth. What we take into our minds in the evening often shapes the emotional landscape of our dreams. So if you're having distressing dreams, try experimenting. Replace the evening news with a walk. Switch your TV show for a guided meditation. Let your bedroom become a space of calm, not chaos. You might be surprised at how quickly your dreams reflect that change. Another approach is dream journaling. Keeping a notebook by your bed and writing down your dreams as soon as you wake up, before they fade, can be a surprisingly powerful way to understand your inner world. Even if the dream doesn't make sense, capturing a few words, a feeling, or an image can give you clues. Over time, patterns emerge. And with those patterns, insight. One man in his late 60s began journaling after years of recurring dreams about his childhood dog running away. He didn't think much of it at first. But after seeing the same dream appear again and again, he realized it showed up during times of change, retirement, relocation, even after his best friend passed. That dog symbolized safety, familiarity, and love. Its disappearance in the dream echoed his fear of losing connection. Once he made that link, the dream shifted. Not because he forced it to, but because he acknowledged the emotion behind it. And when the emotion was seen, it no longer needed to shout so loudly in his sleep. This is what happens when we meet our dreams with curiosity instead of fear. They soften. They reveal. They begin to help rather than harm. Another helpful technique, especially for recurring nightmares, is something called imagery rehearsal therapy, or IRT. This is a tool often used by psychologists, particularly for people with trauma or PTSD. But anyone can try it even at home. Here's how it works. You take a nightmare that recurs often, and during the day in a calm, safe space you imagine a new ending. Not a happy ending necessarily, but one that gives you a sense of agency, resolution, or peace. You visualize it over and over, gently training your brain to reshape the emotional impact of the dream. Let's say you often dream of being stuck in a car that won't brake. In your imagined version, you picture yourself calmly pulling the emergency brake and bringing the car to a stop, or calling someone for help, or stepping out of the vehicle altogether. What you're doing here is building emotional safety into your own internal landscape, and that can carry over into your actual dream world. IRT has been shown to reduce nightmare frequency, especially in older adults and veterans. And even beyond sleep, it can strengthen your sense of control and confidence in waking life. But perhaps the most important piece of this puzzle is compassion. Sometimes we try so hard to get rid of bad dreams that we forget they're often coming from a place inside us that's hurting. Pushing them away can be like ignoring a child who's crying for help. So instead, try this. Next time you wake from a nightmare, pause, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself not what the dream meant but what the feeling was. Were you afraid? Sad? Ashamed? Was there a moment in your waking life that carries the same emotion? This simple act of listening can open doors. It can begin a process of healing that goes far beyond the night. And if you live alone, as many older adults do, this self-dialogue becomes even more essential, because often the only one who hears your fears is you. That's why dreams matter. They're one of the few ways our deeper self finds a voice. And while they might speak in strange symbols and shadows, they're always worth listening to. Now let's return to that question we started with. Why do nightmares happen? Not just biologically, but emotionally, spiritually. Why do we sometimes carry fears into our sleep, even when we're safe? The answer perhaps is this: because aging is a time of reckoning, a time when we look back and forward and try to make sense of the whole journey. Our dreams follow us into that process. They bring what's hidden into view. They stir the waters of memory, grief, regret, and even longing. And while it may feel like turmoil, it's often a sign that we're still growing, still seeking meaning, still alive. So the next time you wake from a dream that unsettles you, try not to run from it. Sit with it. Listen. Ask gently, what are you trying to tell me? And more often than not, the answer won't be fear. It'll be truth. Before we close, I'd love to ask you something. Have you ever had a dream, good or bad, that changed the way you saw something in your life? Maybe it brought up an old memory, or gave you insight you didn't have before. If you feel comfortable, share it in the comments below. Your story might help someone else understand their own. And if this video gave you something to think about, something to reflect on tonight, I'd be honored if you gave it a like, or shared it with someone who might need it. We're all navigating this season of life together, and sometimes even the darkest dreams can light the way forward, if we're brave enough to listen. Thank you for spending this time with me. Sleep gently tonight, and may your dreams be kind.